Alright, what is going on, everyone? First and foremost, I want to say thank you for being here right now, watching this video. I do really appreciate you for your time, and I'd really appreciate if you do consider subscribing, because it truly does help me out a lot. Now, got Ilia Topuria, UFC champion, flyweight, pretty sure, and he recently fought. Alexander Volkanovski beat him with pretty much ease, I'd like to say. But at the end of the day, he did really train hard. So, it all paid off and knocked him out clean right after Islam did. And now he just, he was active. He was pretty active, fighting pretty actively, making his way to become the number one contender to fight Alexander Volkanovski, and that's what happened. Now it just seems like he reached the goal, and it's just he has everything planned out for himself, and he plans on retiring in about 5 years, which is a very smart move for him. You know what I mean? He's a very smart guy. He knows what he's doing, and he knows not to fight way out of his prime, man. He wants to fight within his prime, and that is a pretty good idea. And most fighters stay until they're 35, 36, and some fighters even stay longer. But at the end of the day, man, he's making a smart move. He's gonna retire in his prime, and he's gonna make a big legacy for himself, because a lot of people already know him, and it's 5 years from now, so we'll see what happens. And without further ado, let's see what's going on.
Mixed responses from fans. Some fans think it's a good move. It's a smart decision to retire on top, right? It's better to retire in your prime than after your prime, where usually that's where you start to lose and get knocked out and submitted and all that stuff. And sometimes when you start losing, it convinces you to keep fighting again because you want to get it back, right? And you believe you can make the adjustments in order to turn your career around. But then there's some other fans saying that he's scared and he doesn't want to fight. He wants to be inactive. He's not going to be a great champion. And this is also stemming off the fact that he said he's going to fight in 8 months. He was saying,
I'm not gonna lie, he's making a very smart move, you know what I mean? And a lot of fans don't like that. They're like active champion. So does Dana White. But at the end of the day, man, a lot of smart fighters, a lot of top fighters who put on a dominant performance, they stay within, they most likely fight every year, I'd like to say. Like Justin Gaethje, for example, he used to fight every year, and all of his fights were absolute dominance, and that's why he's still one of the guys at the top till this day, because he's prioritizing his health and things like that, man. But at the end of the day, bro, he's making a very smart move here, prioritizing his health and retiring within his prime, bro. Simply because, bro, every time he fights, it's gonna be a dominant performance. You get what I mean? Because he's gonna be the healthiest he's ever been. You get what I mean? He's gonna have a clear mindset. Let's stop yapping and just play the video, man.
Saying that he wants to fight in October or November, and that would make him, I guess, a normal champion in terms of activity, right? Usually champions fight twice a year, and that would give him mostly 2 fights a year. And if he's going to retire in 3 to 5 years, that could be anywhere from 4 to 8 more fights as a champion. Now, do we believe him? Fighters will say stuff like this, and then they'll stick around for another 5 years, or they will retire and then come back later. It's usually the second retirement that's permanent, not the first. So let's say Topuria does retire at 32 years old. He sees how the sport is playing out. There's another superstar that comes up, and then he wants to make his comeback against that guy. That's what I expect to happen for Topuria if he does retire, but he could be like Khabib. Khabib said he's going to retire, and he retired. He never came back, even though there was a lot of money for him to come back, and he never did it. He stuck to his word. And that might also explain why he's calling out all these different fighters, from Conor McGregor to Max Holloway to Canelo to Khabib to Islam. He is just calling out the biggest names in the sport, and it shows that he has big aspirations in terms of what he sees for himself in the future, but also knowing that he's probably not going to be around that long. But you would think if he's not going to be around that long, he would want to fight more actively so he can get these fights, because one title defense is not enough for him to step up to 155 or fight Conor or fight Khabib or whatever. None of that would really make any sense. Like Volkanovski, who was the previous champion, he defended his belt multiple times before he went up to 155. And Ilia Topuria would surely have to do something similar, unless he explodes as a superstar and then given the Conor McGregor treatment. I think that'll be the only way the UFC will be lenient in him jumping divisions and getting super fights. But there's no way he fights Canelo. I don't think he fights Conor. I don't think he fights Khabib. He could fight Islam in the future, probably towards the end of his championship run. So when he says he's going to retire in 3 to 5 years, that could be after he gets the second belt, hypothetically, if he does it. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't think that's a bad plan. Fighters should be retiring in their prime, or at least like when they're on top of their game. Fighters retiring at the top of their game is something that's quite wise, because we know a whole lot of fighters that stick around way too long. We know more fighters that stay too long than fighters that retire on top. Andrei Arlovski and Bigfoot are still fighting to this day. Arlovski's 45 years old. He was the heavyweight champion in 2005, almost 20 years ago. Bigfoot Silva has almost been fighting in totality for 20 years. His prime was way back in the early 2010s. And right now he's on an 8-fight loss streak, almost all by knockout. Tony Ferguson just talked about how he's going to keep going until the wheels fall off. And he's had one of the biggest declines in the sport's history. From one of the best lightweights in the world to a guy who can't even win a fight against Paddy Pimblett. There are anomalies like Jim Miller, right? There's not a whole lot of fighters that can do what Jim Miller is doing, which is why he is a legend in this game without ever winning a belt. The sad reality of sticking around too long is this, like we see it in real time, and we've seen it all throughout history, not only in MMA but also in boxing. These guys stick around way too long and get further brain damage, destroy their legacies, and that's not what Ilia Topuria is looking to do. Ilia Topuria is probably looking at guys like Khabib, like GSP before he made his comeback, guys who retired on top. Right? They could have went more, fought more contenders, make more money, and risk their legacy, but instead, he sees things a different way, and maybe he's looking to make some kind of business move out of this, right? He's gonna secure himself before he exits the sport so he doesn't have to worry about the monetary side, and he can have his legacy intact. He's on the whole loop of interviews right now. He's getting interviewed by everybody. He's all over the place in Spain. He just had the honorary kickoff for a Real Madrid game, and he's only 27 years old. One of, if not the biggest sports organization in the entire world outside of the Olympics. But this is only true if he continues to win, which of course he believes he's going to, but is it reality? Does Topuria continue to win? Does he beat all these contenders and retires undefeated in the sport as the featherweight champion? He's looking to get that lightweight belt as well. If he does all that stuff, I mean, that's some legendary stuff. In fact, looking at his record right now, he's 15-0. If he gets, let's say, 7 more championship wins before he retires, he would be 22-0 and about 32 years old, 2-weight world champion, the second most title defenses in featherweight history. There's no more he would need to do in this sport. So it is a plan that does seem logical in the point of retirement.
That is true, but at the end of the day, bro, I want to see him fight Max Holloway. You get what I mean? Man, fighting Max Holloway is most likely gonna prove something, because I'm pretty sure it was controversial that Max Holloway beat, you know, Alexander Volkanovski about 3 times, and then only one time it was pretty much clarified that, you know, Alexander Volkanovski dominated the fight the 4th time. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, man, you know, Max Holloway is going through everybody right now. You know, could he be the first guy to knock out Max Holloway? Who knows, man, but let's keep going.
Retirement. But it's a very difficult path to go through, and he is the champion. He's looking to do some great things. I don't know if he would be able to do that. Who would be the lightweight champion at that time? Islam would probably be, in his mid to late 30s at that time, and I don't think he would be sticking around that long. He also expresses his desires to retire early as well. I think it was back in November or December. He said he's going to retire in like 2 years. So it won't be Islam Makhachev if we take his word for it. It could be Arman Tsarukyan, right? It could be Arman who's the champion at that time, and then we get a super fight between Topuria and Arman or something, you know, or whoever is holding the belt. It'd be a very difficult task for Topuria, but regarding the featherweight division, I do think he's going to be a dominant champion. I think he's going to beat most of these guys, but he might run into a hurdle against Max Holloway, and the fight with Yair and Ortega confirmed this to me. If those are the next 2 best guys in this weight class, and you do have Movsar Evloev, who's stylistically at a disadvantage against Topuria, I just don't see anybody beating Topuria at 145 if it's not Max. So that's all of his title defenses. He can get all of those in the next several years. The lightweight belt is the one that's really difficult for Topuria because he will be small in that weight class, as we've seen him go up before. Everybody there is going to be bigger and stronger than he is. and he's gonna have to completely rely on his skills, technique, and IQ in order to get ahead of that bigger champion. So it's an interesting take from Topuria. I did not expect him to already plan his retirement and making it that soon, but I do respect it after seeing all these other fighters stick around for way too long and destroy their health and their careers. And knowing what's ahead for Topuria, I mean, at 32 years old, I don't know what else will be there in the sport for him to do, because he's gonna headline a main event at a stadium in Spain. That's one thing off the bucket list. And only one event was ever at a stadium. Ilia will be the second. And it would be in his country, not like Ronda and Holly Holm that fought in Australia. Neither of them are Australian.
But yeah, man, I'm gonna end this video here. Let me know what you guys think, man. And Ilia Topuria this is a good move by him, because I think he's gonna be a great champion, bro. He knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, but the only hurdle I think will probably be Max Holloway. But at the end of the day, it's not like Max Holloway is unbeatable. You get what I mean? Max Holloway has lost to other people besides, you get what I mean? You get what I mean? Like, Max Holloway has lost to other people except for Alexander Volkanovski. So it's not like you can't beat him. But at the end of the day, bro, it will be a very, very tough fight. Pretty much gonna be a car crash for the ages, man. So yeah. And if he gets through Max Holloway, I believe he can get through everybody else. You know what I mean? But the lightweight, I don't know about the lightweight, man. But without further ado, gonna end the video here. Let me know what you guys think and subscribe for more content, man. Peace out.